Would you like to visit a country where over 3,500 people have been killed in recent times, and of those people, 52% were civilians? I don't think I'll be too keen on visiting that kind of country, but we did. So as you guessed it, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Northern Ireland. So when I was growing up as a kid, you know, in the 80s and the 90s, used to see Northern Ireland in the news quite a bit, and it wasn't for very good things. It was for bombings, killings, shootings, all that kind of stuff. Even kind of came over into England. I think Manchester was bombed. There was a Brighton bombing in my earlier years. And yeah, you know, Northern Ireland just was not on the radar for countries to visit. But since 1998, when the peace agreement was signed by the amazing Tony Blair, yeah, Northern Ireland has been transformed quite literally. So I'm going to share our experience as a tourist in Northern Ireland. So not only Belfast, Derry, and a few other places as well. I'll go through the good points and the bad points of visiting Northern Ireland. Okay, watch on to find out what it's really like. So let's start off with the bad points. So the first one that springs to my mind and that we experienced is the crap weather. Yeah. So Northern Ireland is pretty much the most northwesterliest country in Europe. It's right by the Atlantic Ocean, so it's going to rain a lot. That's a fact. However, Belfast's weather was marginally better than Derry's weather. Londonderry or Derry, whatever you want to call it, is further west, so it's nearer the Atlantic Ocean, and it rained a lot there. I think we stayed there for 3 days, and I think it rained for 3 days. Not constantly, and a lot of the rain was kind of like light, fine drizzle, which isn't too bad. I guess you kind of get used to it, but bear in mind, this was the middle of summer. And yeah, Belfast was a mixed bag, sunshine and showers. But yeah, as a general rule, it rains a lot in Northern Ireland. I'd also say, you know, the location of Northern Ireland, it's quite far from anywhere else. I mean, obviously it's not that far from England or Wales and Scotland, but if you're traveling from further afield, yeah, it is pretty isolated. Yeah, for example, to get to Derry, you need to fly, say, from London if you're coming from abroad, and from London to Belfast, then you get a train from Belfast to Derry. But that can swing both ways. That can be a good point and a bad point, the fact that it's quite isolated, and yeah, the population isn't huge. You know, it's not a particularly crowded place, except the Giant's Causeway. Yeah, when we arrived, yeah, parts of Belfast, there's a lot of graffiti. It looks a bit run down, but I kind of expected that. Obviously it was not a booming economic place during the Troubles, but that's changed a lot. It's been gentrified, which means, you know, new buildings have been put up. It's been cleaned up, tarted up if you want, a lot. And the centre of Belfast is really nice. Yeah, you can't really fault it. Last but by no means least is the Northern Irish accent. So I'm not going to try and imitate it. It's quite a hard one to do. Oscar, don't I, but yeah, it's quite difficult to understand, even for me as a native English speaker. You know, we were ordering in restaurants, and sometimes I just had to say, "Can you repeat that, please? What did you say?" It's a pretty thick accent, but at the same time, it's a really nice accent as well. Okay, so I would say, yeah, they are pretty much all the negative points. So yeah, nothing too major, unless you don't like rain. Okay, so let's take a look at the good points now, of which there are plenty, many more than the bad points, that's for sure. So first off, let's talk about money. So I would say that the cost of living in general, despite the fact we didn't live there, we experienced what it's like to live there, is, yeah, slightly cheaper than mainland England, particularly south of England. I can't talk about the north of England or other places, but south of England, definitely London, it is cheaper. That includes taxis, eating out, public transport, yeah, all that kind of stuff is definitely a bit cheaper. So yeah, it's easy on your wallet, which is nice. Moving on to the public transport, which was amazing. Our experience of Northern Irish public transport was really good. So we travelled from Belfast to Derry by train, which I was a little bit apprehensive about with regards to cost, because I'm used to, paying 70, 80, 90 pounds for a 1 hour trip to London from Southampton. So it's a 2 hour trip, and it cost us a whopping £23 for all three of us, 2 adults and 1 child. So yeah, really good. And the train was super reliable. It wasn't too busy. It was clean. It was efficient. It was on time. It was everything that a English train is not, basically. Next off, I would say the people. The people are super duper friendly. As mentioned earlier, you can't always understand them, but they are very, very friendly. They've got a great sense of humour. Yeah, they're always happy to, just chat with you in the street if you need to ask for directions or whatever. Yeah, that is a big, big plus. There's also a lot of interesting places to visit, believe it or not. I'm sure you've heard of, the Giant's Causeway. So we went there. It was very crowded, but it was very beautiful, and we were very lucky with the weather. It was sunny that particular afternoon. But there's other places as well. Game of Thrones. So a lot of Game of Thrones was filmed there. I think they have the Wall. They have the King's Road, and they have some other locations where Game of Thrones was filmed. Check out my YouTube shorts, link in description below. In Belfast, they've got loads of great places to visit in Belfast. They've got the Titanic Quarter, where the Titanic Museum is situated, and other ships, I think HMS Caroline, and a few others. They've got Botanic Gardens, which is really beautiful. You don't need to pay to get into the kind of, big greenhouses in the Botanic Garden. So that's really nice. And also where a lot of the troubles occurred, they're kind of like tourist destinations now. So we visited Bogside, which apparently is one of the most deprived estates in the west of Europe. And there's lots of these murals, like depicting the troubles. But there's a lot of tourists visiting those kind of places now. So there's definitely a lot of pluses to visiting Northern Ireland. Right, so overall, would I recommend visiting Northern Ireland? And that is an absolute definitive yes. I would most definitely recommend visiting Northern Ireland. Unless you've got an allergy to rain, unless you melt, like sugar in the rain, it's a great place to visit. It's reasonably cheap for West of Europe. People are very friendly. There's lots of great things to see and do. I would definitely recommend visiting Northern Ireland. Okay, so comment below if you visited Northern Ireland or would like to. Please make sure that you do like this video, and make sure that you subscribe to my channel. That will be most appreciated. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.